bastard will drink the same cup of coffee all day. It's so gross.
No, it's disgusting. Oh, is he a mental patient? Do you remember in Jaws when Quint crushes the beer can, and then Richard Dreyfuss looks at him and has this small paper cup of coffee and crushes that cup? Remember that? Mm-hmm. Yep. I have a foam cup right here, autographed by Richard Dreyfuss, because Jaws is my favorite movie.
I never knew this about you.
Oh yeah, Scott Hansen and I from Red Zone talk about Jaws all the time with each other. And I get a phone call from Scott while he's driving to San Diego last year. He goes, "I'm meeting Richard Dreyfuss. I need help with questions about Jaws. Go." We will tell you the one thing that the Eagles need to fix with their offense before Thursday night against the Giants. Are the Chiefs, have they lost their fear factor? We'll get into that. Joe Rogan, maybe. And who's the best offense in the AFC? It might be the Indianapolis Colts. Welcome into Scoop City on a Wednesday. James Palmer with you alongside the Athletic Senior NFL Insider, Dianna Russini. We've been talking for the last 30 minutes, Dianna, I think, about Jaws, about Home Alone. Maybe that'll be our sideshow, but we do have to talk football on this one. How you doing, friend?
I'm good. We got Jurassic Park playing a lot in this house these days because it's inappropriate for a 4 and soon to be 3-year-old to be watching it, but it's just good dinosaur action. Jurassic Park is a classic. If it's on, I'm watching it.
Yep, it's tremendous. Great at making dinosaurs, doing DNA coding, terrible at making fences, but you can't be good at everything. Listen, The Eagles feel like they should be good at everything, Dianna. They have enough talent on this roster. Defense is playing actually very, very well. But on the offense, we have sputtered. We've had issues. So we had a meeting of the minds. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, little meeting. Can you tell us anything? I know they're being very private about this meeting, but just the fact that there was one obviously tells us a couple things.
I think everyone has different definitions of the word meeting. I think that's probably at the center of this, because there's like a little bit of, I'm understanding it to be less of a formal, we need to sit down and talk about our problems, and more of a guy sitting around just having a conversation about where this Philadelphia team is, because we talk about the problems that they have. We see the problems that they have. They know the problems. And I bet you they know 10 times more than we could ever, even on our best day of reporting. Because there's obviously a really clear issue there, which is they're trying to figure out who they are and what they want to be. And you look back at last year after their bye, that's when things started to improve. And this could be coming at the right time. Like, it may be okay. As much as it feels like panic and everyone is freaking out that one of the best teams on paper is having all these problems and barely winning some of these games when they should be blowing a lot of these teams out. They know this has got to get fixed now because one, their schedule, but I don't know how much a team can manage 2 years in a row dealing with this kind of thing. So I think the Giants are a good get right game for them. Obviously, this is always going to be personal for Saquon, right? Like, I don't care how many years have gone by. I don't care that he's won a Super Bowl. Saquon said 100 times he imagined himself always being a Giant. Like, it took him a while to even get used to Philly. Welcome to Philly, Saquon, because it's different. It's a different set of problems. They're problems that everybody wants, you know, despite the fact, I mean, you point out that their defense has been playing well, but look, this is me being picky, by the way, but you look at their two defenders that they lost in free agency, right? In Milton Williams, who's now with New England, you've got Josh Sweat. Combine those two, have 7.5 sacks. The entire Philadelphia defense right now has 7 sacks total, right? And I'm not saying that they need those guys. I'm just adding to some of the things that they need to perhaps take a look at as they're going to try to make improvements, but more specifically on offense.
Certainly. I mean, you look at how we mentioned that it is a pretty decent defense. They've been outgained in terms of total yards by 383 yards this season, the 6th worst in the league, and they're 4-1. I mean, they're getting outgained pretty much every single game. Obviously, a lot of what's happening on the offensive side of the ball is another new play caller. There's talk about the plays coming in late. They've always come in late under Nick Sirianni. Let's make sure that that's noted. But they're operating under the 5 seconds of this play clock each and every play. And if players are bringing it up, what does that often mean? If players are bringing it up, it means there is some sort of issue with the way the operation is working. My understanding is they are working tirelessly on this. What does Kevin Patullo like? What does Jalen like? How does Jalen like the information delivered to them? How does Kevin like to deliver that information? How do they go about the entire operation of all of this? Because there are people that I've talked to in that building, Dianna, that are still wondering what's wrong with the offense. They think it's going to get fixed because there's so much money and so much talent on that side of the ball. But they are scratching their head going, we're playing decent defense. That's not where the money is. We have to figure this out. We have so many players. I think the other part is, and I'm curious if you've heard this, like the 3 and outs are through the roof. I mean, the too many 3 and outs. And if you don't have enough plays and you have all these mouths to feed, they leave the league.
I know.
And so if you have all these mouths to feed and you don't have enough plays.
Well, I feel like this team is an example of those. In the offseason when, free agency is happening and fans are mad about, you got to sign this guy, you got to sign that guy. And sometimes you'll hear reporters, you even hear people that are part of teams, like, you have to be careful about signing a lot of great players because sometimes it can be a problem. And some people poo-poo that. But I think the Philadelphia Eagles are a great example of that. They've got great stars everywhere. Saquon Barkley was having an MVP-like season last year, right? The best of his career. Now he's averaging 3.2 carries, right? 3.2 yard carries a year. Wait, 3.2 yards per carry. There you go.
Got it. Nailed it.
There's not the same Saquon, and I wonder what's going on from the O-line all the way back to Saquon. They're like, what is off? Why aren't they in sync? Why do they seem so out of rhythm? And here's the thing. I do think they will figure it out. I just am still trying to figure out what the problem is. How are they going to fix this? Yeah. I don't have an answer. I think they're searching for it. And I think that's fair as they're looking at this team going, all right, everyone wants the ball. It was so obvious. We talked about on the show in the last episode. It was very evident. They changed the game plan to feed those guys. Denver knew it was coming. They were reading everything all last week. They were like, okay, they're going to have to pacify these receivers and they're going to be throwing. And we saw it. And in some instances, it made sense to throw. But to turn their back a bit on a ground game that's been carrying them and getting them wins just may not be the best game plan, especially against the New York Giants.
Yeah, I've talked to some defensive coaches that have studied them, and it's like there's like the offensive line, which they hang their hat on, just hasn't played up to the potential and the salaries and the talent that's there. Yeah. And then with that, Saquon starts searching a little bit. He starts looking for holes. He starts kind of second guessing where he's going, and it's just kind of compounding itself in the way that run game's going, and this offense is based off of the run. Let's see what they can do against this Giants team. I'm interested because you mentioned that Broncos defense. They simulated pressure a ton, didn't bring extra pressure, still got pressure, dropped into zone. They love to play man. Giants love to play man. Maybe they play zone the same way Denver did in the second half to go against this offense. It's going to be interesting. But again, I don't think anybody's panicking in Philadelphia, but I do think there's people that we mentioned that we've talked to are still kind of scratching their heads. How about the opponent from that Super Bowl that we were both at, I believe, in New Orleans? Saw you down there during the week, hung out a little bit. It was nice. Well, it wasn't nice for the Chiefs when Sunday rolled around, and it wasn't nice on Monday on Trevor Lawrence's birthday. He falls down twice, scores the game-winning touchdown, and the Chiefs are 2-3, Dianna. Is there panic? Do people still fear the Kansas City Chiefs the way that they have over the last several seasons?
No, I don't believe so. I don't even think people around the league are worried. I do think people are commenting that they don't look the same, but I've heard that every year. Like every year there's some coach, some players like, what's up with Kansas City? They seem off. I think
our feel like it's wishful thinking around the league.
Yeah, right. They're like, oh, this is it. This is when they're going to stink. Look, I can tell you, I had a conversation with someone in Kansas City just about the importance of Xavier Worthy being back in the lineup, and obviously the importance of Rashee Rice when he returns, right? So this is the last game that they've got without him, and then he returns back to the lineup. And from what I understand, just looking at the available wide receivers, the Kansas City Chiefs don't feel like there is a receiver out there that they could trade for that is better than Rashee Rice. That's how much they believe in him. Facts. Like it's almost as if we've underrated how good of a player he is. They evaluate him very high. I think that he will be a surge to this offense, which is why when the question you ask is, is there panic? Not in the Kansas City Chiefs building. Perhaps those on the outside who still have yet to realize how good Rashee Rice is.
Dianna, how do you like your barbecue when you're in Kansas City?
I don't.
You don't eat barbecue? Interesting. Okay. I'll give a shout out to Q39. It needs to be rare, right? You're not going medium. You're not going well done. I'm going rare. I'm going medium rare on most of my meat when I'm in Kansas City. Live there all the time. So I want to talk about what's rare for the Kansas City Chiefs. 13 penalties, 109 yards of penalties. That just doesn't happen with the Kansas City Chiefs. Undisciplined play on defense where you don't look almost unprepared for certain things doesn't happen with Steve Spagnuolo. Just doesn't. 0-3 in one-score games this season. That just doesn't happen in Kansas City. Bad complementary football with Harrison Butker kicking the ball out of bounds after they take the lead. Bad complementary football just doesn't happen in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes' red zone turnovers don't happen in Kansas City. I think these are rare occurrences. I don't think all of those things happen every game for the Chiefs moving forward. I have a lot of confidence in what's happening. And when you talk to people there, and you did, and I did, the offensive line is a big reason why this offense is going to be just fine. I know some people are concerned about a defense. I don't panic with Steve Spagnuolo and the way things improve as the course of the year goes on each and every year in Kansas City. Don't panic there. But this offensive line that had some question marks just had 7.6 yards a play against a team that was the fifth best defense coming into this game. They were moving guys around. And from my understanding, it's this. If the offensive line plays that way, that allows them to have Patrick go through his first, second, third, and oftentimes fourth progressions, which he's going to find somebody. He's the best on the planet. The other part is it's having them run the football a little bit better, which allowed them in this game, I'm told, to run play action better, the bootlegs better, and they're going to continue to be able to move the football almost at will against anybody once, as you mentioned, Rashee Rice comes back. So with the two games that Worthy came back, who was their game plan until Rashee comes back, they've scored 37 and 28 points. So like, once everyone returns, I don't think anybody has a problem. And I don't know if you'll be able to slow them down if the line keeps playing the way that they're playing. It's early wishful thinking around the league and specifically around the AFC. And wishful thinking is what the Cincinnati Bengals are doing, Dianna. They're going, come on, Joe Flacco. Come on down I-71 from Cleveland. Maybe he drove. I'm not entirely sure. Short PJ ride, though. Joe Flacco is going to start against the Packers. Has a chance to beat them twice with two different teams in the same year. That's a rare occurrence. Can he hold the fort down? What's the plan? Why'd they make the trade?
Yeah, that's the hope, is that Joe Burrow, according to the Cincinnati team, was the best option for them. They had lots of conversation about what direction they wanted to go. And I heard some wild names when this was coming together. Oh, yeah, there were so many rumors and just small light conversations, some light flirting with some quarterbacks. But I think for this Bengals team in the end, the most serious and really the only conversation from what I learned was with the Cleveland Browns for Joe Flacco. They never called the New York Giants because that was my first thought. I was like, well, here comes Russell Wilson, perhaps maybe even Jameis Winston. And from what I learned was they never even reached out to the Giants because they were pretty sure that they wanted to be Joe Flacco. This is the move they made. And even Cleveland was a bit surprised when Cincinnati called them, just obviously knowing they're playing in the same division. And
you have the right number.
Yeah, like, oh, but it just goes to show you, like, because so many people say that, like, oh, they'll never make that trade. And sometimes I buy that too. There's a few teams I know, and I'm sure you do too. They will not trade with a division foe. But some teams are open to it, especially the Cincinnati Bengals team, who is desperate. They've got 3 or 4 primetime games coming up. They've got a kind of a tough schedule, obviously a very highly paid offense, and they need to do something. They cannot get embarrassed. So Joe Flacco makes all the sense. So, as soon as we found out about this, it was like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense in the world that Joe Flacco would be the answer. I just don't know whether or not they're going to be that much better. We're acting as if we forgot what Joe Flacco was just doing with Kevin Stefanski, who he's comfortable with, he understands the offense. It's like, why are we so excited? Like he's going to come in here and not be Joe Flacco. Do we think he's going to be Joe Burrow?
Well, it's the same first name, but I think because we've seen him do it before, like we've seen him come in and save the day, and we're all just kind of hoping because we like Joe to like, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if he could come in and save the day? Because you're right, everybody's sitting there dying to like, he's never had skill players like this before, and I'm like, well, if you understand why they moved on from him, I was told it was much more about the way Joe was playing and much less about we have to see Dillon Gabriel right now. So that allows you to think the Browns were done with Joe Flacco essentially and has seen enough. Now it's time to see both of these rookies. His play was something to them. So they also go, okay, we're comfortable making this trade and sending him to you. So that needs to be thought of as well. And I want to mention this. You mentioned Russ. Is this a telltale sign of, does anybody want Russ before November 4th? Do you think this shows us? Because it's not financial. He's not owed a lot of money. He's easily to be moved. Do you think this is a sign that maybe there's not a lot of interest?
I don't. I think it was for the Bengals. I don't think the Bengals had interest in Russell Wilson. I don't think this is a league-wide thought. I think the Giants are still anticipating calls for Russ. Like, I think they think that they will get them between now and the trade deadline in November. But I know from the conversations I had, people with power in Cincinnati were not in the Russell Wilson. They were not in that camp of interest at all.
Okay. That's one team's opinion. You're right. One team's opinion on Russell Wilson. And I do think Joe really has seen every bit of football you could ever throw at him. So you need this player to play right away. He's going to play Sunday. He's seen everything. He can pick it up quickly. He can throw the ball well. And I'm told he needs to throw the ball where it's supposed to go. That's something that wasn't happening.
Did you hear any rumors of any quarterbacks? Do you hear any like, well, like, so like the best are like people on Twitter, obviously they don't count as sources, but like, are like Phillip Rivers. I'm like, what? Like, just, I love
Rivers. That's a great one.
Like I love people's ideas of like, all right, here's, this would make sense. It's like, what? Are you nuts? Like, I mean, I wish.
Well, I mean, everybody was curious about Kirk Cousins. And I think maybe we should say that it is going to be difficult, I think, to trade for Kirk Cousins. I think the financial aspect of it plays a part. Remember, he's guaranteed $10 million in 2026. So that complicates the matter if you're going to rent somebody, like say the Bengals are going to rent a quarterback until Joe Burrow comes back. And also, I don't think the Falcons are just going to give him away by any stretch. Do you get that same feeling?
Yeah, no. Atlanta's not giving him away. And Atlanta knew Cincinnati wasn't going to call either because of what you just laid out. Like there was like a 0.01 chance that call would even be made, and they didn't call.
Yeah, exactly. They're not just going to eat all that salary either. They're looking for the team to take on a good chunk of that. Dilly, let's go to the Browns real quick before we go to break and what this means for their quarterback situation. It used to be like completely full. It was like all these kids walking into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, and all of a sudden they're getting bumped off one by one. Kenny Pickett's Augustus Gloop. He's down. All of a sudden you're turning violet. Joe Flacco's gone. Now it's just Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, essentially. Bailey Zappe's there. But now we have the two rookies, which if we go back and listen to what Jimmy Haslett had to say at the start of training camp was, I want to see both of these rookies. My understanding is that they would like to see both of these rookies, but I don't think Dillon Gabriel underperformed against a difficult Vikings defense by any stretch in his first start.
Yeah, I'm not sold yet that Shedeur is going to be the backup quarterback yet. Kevin Stefanski is going to wait a little bit before he makes that final call. The fact that it's not that clean cut when it's just a backup quarterback, like it, why not name him, right? Like what could the reasons be? Bailey Zappe, like you said, is on the practice squad. So we'll see what they wind up doing here. But just the fact that there's a little hesitation tells me that there must be some concern that maybe he's not ready in case he were to have to step in there and take over if Dillon Gabriel were to get hurt. But yeah, in terms of Dillon Gabriel's play, that they definitely are happy with. Look, they're not thrilled. They didn't win. But man, this whole thing can change for the Browns if they can just pull off one of these close games where they can't catch a break.
No. Sorry, I was doing Shedeur Sanders there, miming to you. And listen, I have heard some rumblings that they wanted to make sure, you mentioned the word clean. They wanted to make sure if he's going to go into a game, they would prefer it to be with an entire week of practice that was designed specifically for him. and have him go into that game very prepared. Not usually the case if you're the backup and you get thrust into a certain position within a game. We'll see what Kevin Stefanski does, but obviously everybody has their eyes on Shedeur Sanders and what he's going to do if he gets a chance to play get on the field. I think at some point he might. Coming up on Scoop City on a Wednesday, we're going to talk about the Indianapolis Colts. What are we talking about him? Shane Steichen could potentially be the coach of the year. We'll tell you why next on Scoop City. Welcome back to Scoop City on a Wednesday. James Palmer, Dianna Russini with you. And Dianna, it's exactly like you predicted before the season started. Colts, red hot, 4-1. Shane Steichen, dealing. Daniel Jones, thriving. This is what you predicted, right?
I was all over it. I kept telling you that I heard in camp how good Daniel Jones looked. There was no controversy. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, I know we're joking, but we kept saying that they kept...
You did say that.
mentioning that Daniel Jones was legit the best quarterback. Think about how much time when do you ever hear about Anthony Richardson now? Like, ever. You don't, right? It's
until he came in a blowout. Yeah.
The story's dead between Tyler Warren and Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor and pretty much this entire team that has been really impressive. They certainly are the talk of the league right now.
Yeah, they really are. Players will tell you, like, I feel like we're executing at a level I've never been a part of before. We're kind of operating in a manner in which I've never been a part of before. And that's because this is the most efficient offense in football. It's not that they're balanced. I think that term is overused. It's because they take exactly what the defense gives them and they have answers for everything. My understanding is this. Everybody understands their role, Dianna. It's Michael Pittman knows he has this role. Josh Downs knows he's in the slot with the short stuff. Alex Pierce knows he's the deep threat. They all know in the receiving room what their role is. And what ties this together is Jonathan Taylor as the number one running back in football right now and his ability to hit the home run. And my understanding is when he can go deep and he can go the distance, there's a little shuffle of the feet towards the middle of the field, right? Little bit of shuffle of the feet towards the line of scrimmage by defenders because we don't want this guy to get to the second level and be gone because Jonathan Taylor can do it. But we both did a lot of draft work. The other part is Tyler Warren, and you mentioned him. They line him up anywhere. He is not a tell like a lot of other linebackers are, where these new pass-catching tight ends come out of college and we know we're throwing. They run behind him. They have specific schemes, I'm told, to run behind him as a lead blocker, and he can also lead this team in receiving. What was the buzz? Do you remember? Can you go down memory lane here and about Tyler Warren and what type of player whoever got him was going to get? And I think the Colts are using him perfectly.
Oh, they're doing a phenomenal job. And it actually made me go back to thinking about when we were working on draft stuff about what Shane Steichen likes to do with his tight ends. I remember having a conversation with why that would make a lot of sense for the Colts to go after him before we knew that they were going to draft him. And that's really been one of the buzzier topics whenever I'm asking teams like, hey, what are you seeing from the Colts? What do you like about them? Defensive coordinators, what scares you about them? I think this is finally the time where Shane Steichen is getting the respect that he's had, but maybe it hasn't been so loud, right? Because going back to Philly, he had an enormous amount of respect for what he was able to do and how he put that offense together and called plays. And that was why he was hired. And I had a conversation with someone in Indy yesterday afternoon, and it's the simplest thought, but it's like, this person was like, we finally have a quarterback to just play with the guys that we have on this team, right? Like, I know that is the most basic thing, but it's so true when you just look at this Colts team. It's not like they just started to be good outside of the quarterback. They've actually always been pretty good. They just haven't had anyone great under center, and they've been through it, and that's been their problem. And it's why Chris Ballard has taken so much heat. But it seems that they got this right. And Daniel Jones, for himself personally, I think, even made the right call. I think we were saying, not criticizing, but we were wondering why he wouldn't want to stay with O'Connell and stay in Minnesota, team that could win the Super Bowl. If you told me that Daniel Jones with the Colts was going to have a better season than the Minnesota Vikings were up to this point, that would have really surprised me.
Yeah, seriously. It's one of the best stories to watch in football right now, though. And is he in line? I know it's early, but is this something you think Chris Ballard is looking at going, I think we got to lock him up? Like, do we give him a deal? Like, I know it's early in the season, but that has to start creeping into your mind if you're Chris Ballard.
Oh, for sure. You don't want to let this guy go, right? I think he's doing it. I'm sure Tampa Bay is going to be wanting to think about that with Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
By the way, notice the commentary in both those quarterbacks too that we're talking about with the resurgence. Yes, but they've got these rookie weapons, right? On both these offenses. I don't know how that's usually I would say they would take some time, but these guys are doing such a great job. Sometimes that rawness, like you just feel like there's power in naivete, right? Like when you just don't know and you just have to go out and ball and play. And I don't know if I've ever said the Colts are fun to watch. They're really fun to watch now. And even some of the clips that we just showed here, if you're watching it, it's like, I can't believe that's Daniel Jones. Like it takes a sec. But that's it. He's another player where people around the league will tell me, like, he's good. He just needed the right situation. And I was never believing anybody. Now I believe it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Remember when Zaire Franklin was on the show talking to us and he was like, there's always 4 or 5 times during a practice where we're like, we see him throw a ball and we're like, this was a top pick here. This was a really talented top of the draft type of quarterback. We almost kind of forgot it. And now the league's seeing it. Maybe some of these guys you're mentioning, they're playing it loose like this because they've already failed. And now they're coming back going, I'm just going to play loose. I'm going to go play and I'm going to go do it. And we've seen it in Baker and Sam Darnold's playing crazy good. And same as Daniel Jones. So let's throw this out here. That's a big surprise with the Indianapolis Colts in a lot of people's minds, obviously. Shane Steichen goes from hot seat to front runner for coach of the year. You have another surprise in the league, 5 games in, that's making you go, I didn't see this coming and I kind of like it. Or I didn't see this coming and oh boy.
You mentioned it, and it's Sam Darnold specifically, but it's Seattle who's, in a dogfight in their division right now. But if you told me that Sam Darnold was going to be playing better in Seattle after being with the Minnesota Vikings, after performing at such a high level with Kevin O'Connell, and then go do it with Clint Kubiak and perform at this level, like this is surprising to me. I kind of thought that we would forget about Sam Darnold. I thought he'd go there and just be okay. I thought that the best version we'd see of him was going to be in Minnesota for all the reasons that we've talked about on the show a million times. He is just shouldering a lot of the load there too. And he doesn't have the same weapons that he had in Minnesota, right? Take a look. Tight end, wide receiver, they have an average run game with the Seahawks compared to the Vikings. So that to me is really surprising that Darnold has been able to step up and do this. And look, I know he lost against the Bucs, but he is playing some of the best quarterbacking right now.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. And I guess there is some carryover, right, between what Kevin O'Connell does and what Clint Kubiak does. And it's kind of that Shanahan tree in some capacity, but he's playing his tail off. I'll be Mr. Negative. I'll be Nancy Negative. Is that a term? I don't think it is.
It's not. It's Debbie Downer, and it's
Debbie Downer. That's right.
Negative Nelly.
Negative Nelly. Yeah. Sorry, Nancy.
We have a problem on this show if I'm the one getting the things right.
That's a good point. The Ravens shock me. I mean, at 1-4, this is such a surprise. Like this team, I think when we talked before the season on the show, Dan, we both kind of agreed. Wait, they're your Super Bowl pick, right?
Yeah, dude. Let's not do this. Last year in Scoop City, I picked Houston. I'm like horrible.
No, it's all right. I think I picked the Ravens too. This is with the Eagles in almost everybody's mind, the best roster in football. And now they are off to tying their worst start in franchise history. What bothers me and is the most surprising aspect is not that their record is that. They've actually played some really good teams as well. But in the manner in which those losses have happened and that the defense has lost their identity, that the defense is not what we're used to with Ravens defenses, that there are opposing players that are saying, the effort, the want to, that's just not something I'm used to seeing going against this defense. And I know there's a litany of injuries, but at the same time, it's been very, very interesting to watch that side of the ball, which has now dramatically impacted the other side. We know Lamar's hurt and banged up, and you were all over that. I think this might be the most important buy in John Harbaugh's career coming up in 2 weeks, what he has to try to accomplish after this Rams game. They have a schedule where I think of their next 7 games, I want to say, they have 2 teams with winning records. We'll see if they can right the ship. But that's a huge surprise for me. Just huge.
Yeah, if you told me that we'd be discussing them heading into this Rams game and eventually the bye week with Lamar Jackson injured, dealing with his hamstring, we'll see if he plays. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, but we'll see how the rest of the week goes. It would make sense for them to rest him with the bye week coming up. But if you told me that there are serious conversations being had right now for this organization to perhaps move on from their head coach, like that's shocking to me. And we'll see if that picks up. This is going to be one of the biggest stories, I think, of the season, is this Ravens team. And another year where Lamar is not playing in the playoffs, at least in the rounds closer to the Super Bowl. Like, it's just shocking if you told me Lamar Jackson wasn't going to be in the playoffs if they continue this bad rut.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's not a bad rut. It's just a rut. You can't have a good rut.
Yeah, you can't have a good rut. There's no such thing as good. You know what? I'm doing okay. I've been in a pretty good rut lately.
Pretty good rut. I see it works. It works. It's all how you say. It's all the delivery.
It's all delivery and tone. Your dog would never understand as long as you say it in a good tone. Coming up, we're going to talk to Jacob Robinson of the Scoop City newsletter. He's got a couple of questions for Dianna and I. We always love seeing him and his backdrop. Can't wait to see what he has for us coming up next. Welcome back to Scoop City on a Wednesday. James Palmer, Dianna Russini with you. And on Wednesdays, Anna, you know, we always love to chat about a newsletter. And we're going to have Jacob Robinson asking us some questions, as he oftentimes does, from this Scoop City newsletter. You know, he runs that bad boy. And there are over 1 million sends out there. Everybody's getting this thing. It's all the rave.
So good. I read it every morning.
It's all the rave. It really gets you caught up.
Here's what I like about it.
Huge mug.
It gets you caught up. But it also, Jacob is so good at finding really good trends that are interesting in the league, things that are happening on offense, defense, just stuff that like I don't pay attention to or I miss. I'm like, oh yeah, that is interesting. So that's why I love it. And it's free to subscribe, put your email in, and they're not annoying about it. But I subscribe to some newsletter. I'm like I do this one, it's like word of the day or something. They send me 6 word of the days. I'm like, no, this is words of the day. I just want 1 word of the day. It's annoying. I'm gonna write back. Here's the word. Good. Stop. That's my word of the day.
Stop. I don't shop at Joseph A. Bank anymore. Stop sending it to me. How about Jacob? What does he have for us right now, Mac? Roll that.
Dianna and James, how you guys doing? It's great to be back in Scoop City, coming to you live from the newsletter. And in the newsletter earlier this week, I looked at the 4-1 teams, particularly one weakness for each of them. Now, I want you to rank who the best 4-1 team is so far this season and who the worst 4-1 team is. But before you do that, I'm going to give you one flaw of each team. First is the Eagles. Their run blocking has been atrocious. Saquon Barkley's gone from being the league leader in yards before contact last season to one of the worst marks in the league, getting less than 1 yard per carry before contact. Then there's the Bills, which have one of the worst secondaries in the league and need Maxwell Hairston, their first-round cornerback, to return to add some speed to that secondary. The Buccaneers struggle in the fourth quarter, getting outscored by their opponents in every game they've won so far this year in the final period. 49ers can't seem to run the ball. Christian McCaffrey averages just 3.1 yards per carry. Colts just lost their kicker, Spencer Schrader, who's been one of the best in the league, only missing 1 of 27 attempts so far this year. Lions lost their 2 starting cornerbacks as well as their top backup and might be starting their 5th string corner up next against Kansas City. Then there's the Jaguars, who are 4-1. They have got one of the worst passing games in the league, despite this generational quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, who hasn't quite lived up to the billing. Which of those teams do you think is the best 4-1 team and the worst 4-1 team? I'd love to hear. Thanks, guys.
Dianna, I always go through Jacob's background because I think it's outstanding. Did you see that he has a pipe collection?
I did not notice that. You have good eyes.
There's a collection of pipes over there. Interesting. He looks like a pipe guy. I can see him sitting outside of the pipe.
I did not. I was unaware that. So those that are listening to the show, go watch us on YouTube and you can see the pipe collection and critique it.
Find the pipe collection. It's like a erotic photo hunt at the bar.
Yeah.
All right. Best 4-1 team in Dianna Russini's mind is who?
The Lions. I think they are the best team in the NFC right now. They are force. I don't think we're giving Jared Goff enough love. I think the fact that Johnny Morton has been able to step in here and taken control of this offense, and they have not skipped a beat. It was like everyone freaked out after that Packers game, and then they just chilled. And they seemed to chill too that week after the loss. From talking to some people there, and they are a steady ship who is certainly not getting enough attention, but they, to me, are the best 4-1 team headed into week 6.
Okay, I kind of agree, but I'll have to, pick somebody else. I'm going to go with the Bills. Okay. And you're going to see my theme here on quarterback play. They still have an MVP playing quarterback in Josh Allen. I have some concerns. I'm concerned about Keon Coleman on the outside, and passing outside the numbers has been an issue the last 2 years. I still believe that game against a fired up New England team by Stephon Diggs and an unbelievable performance by Drake May, by the way, who was balling. I still have a lot of faith in a Bills team that still has a couple of injuries on the defensive side of the ball that will get healthy. I think that's a part of this. All right, the worst 4-1 team is who to Dianna Russini?
You bring up the Patriots, by the way. They should be 4-1. Like, we should be talking about them. They should have beat the Raiders. They should have beat the Steelers. You could make an argument they could be undefeated. Like, and look, I don't want to go through every. I don't want to go through every game, but like it crossed my mind when you brought Drake May up. I'm like, oh wait, they could have. Anyways, yeah, Drake played out of his mind that they've got the Saints. We'll see how they do. But when I say the worst 4-1 team, I'm talking about right now. The state of what they are now and which is why I say the Philadelphia Eagles. Do I think the Philadelphia Eagles, in the end, though, will be better than, let's say, the Jags or the Colts, who are both 4-1? Yes, the Philadelphia Eagles will be better than those teams. I just think for right now, they've got to straighten this chaos out. This soap opera, the drama, still think they love it, but I think it's distracting and it's exhausting actually to cover this team because there's just always something. And we should be talking about the talent that they have because they are, I believe, the most talented team in football. Yep. They just need to figure it out. So they're my 4-1 team that I have concern over.
Okay. They fill column inches. People don't say that term anymore, do they? With everything that's going on inside that building. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm a fan. And I think Liam Cohen has changed the culture very, very quickly. They have learned how to win close games. They took two powerhouses down in the Niners and the Chiefs in the last 2 weeks. And they've done it in the closing minutes of those games. What bothers me is you can't rely on consistently getting this many turnovers and this many impactful turnovers for the duration of an entire season. Maybe it's possible, but it just seems like a hard thing to lean into. And then the other part is, and Jacob called him a generational quarterback, the decision-making by Trevor Lawrence irks me. I know this is a work in progress with him and Liam Cohen. That's why Liam has the job. But I just feel like some of the decision-making in game still makes you scratch your head and go, eesh, we need to be a little bit better at the most important position in sports. I love what they're doing, but they're maybe the team out of the group I have the least amount of faith in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm also not used to it, right? I don't think any of us are. It's just like,
this is so new.
Like, this is so bizarre. It can't be real, but maybe it is. Yeah. And look, Liam Cohen, he could be in the running for coach of the year right now as well.
Certainly. Certainly.
I think between him and Kyle Shanahan, like they deserve a lot of credit. We haven't talked about Niners in a while. We'll be talking about them coming up here. They got this big game against Tampa Bay on Sunday. I can't wait to talk about that next week with you. By the way, you mentioned Jacob calling Trevor Lawrence a generational talent. I think Jacob's a Jags fan. I need to do a little.
I'll check the background to see if there's any tells in there. I remember
thinking it was a team that you'd be surprised that he would like. So we need to find out if that's his team.
Okay, we'll dig on it. We'll dig on it.
We're on it here on Scuba.
Okay, I thought you were going to say, thinking of generational quarterbacks, our own Chase Daniel had a birthday. And I just want to give him a shout out for his birthday because we didn't do it on his birthday. And I know he'd love this right now. So we're wishing Chase a happy birthday. He's another year older. And I just want to round it out by going, is there anything lately, Dianna, and this is exactly Mac putting me in a bad spot as the producer. Have you felt old to a woman? Have you felt old lately?
Right. Yes. When I attended the Eagles game, I stopped by my family's seats, which is the last row at the lake. They are,
they're up there, baby.
They're all 22 washers. I think I say to my father-in-law all the time, we are in the sky than the Eagles on the field. But it's awesome. I actually love their seats. I could not believe how many times I had to stop when I was walking up to the seats because my cardio just wasn't at the level that it needs to be at. When I used to be able to do it 5 years ago, I was fine. So I'm glad you asked me because it was very recent that I felt old. And I thought it as I was walking up. I'm like, all this makeup, all this hairspray in the world can't cover the fact that I'm an old lady now.
No, don't you say that. I'll just close out real quick and just say, I can't remember the last time I jumped. Jumped.
Yeah. Why would you? Right.
Yeah. I just thought of that. When's the last time you jumped?
I just jumped. I don't jump rope. I used to jump rope. I don't jump rope. And it's such a
great workout.
Oh, it's hard. If you do it the right way, like if you actually, have you ever learned how to do it the right way? It's hard.
I don't know.
That's great for their cardio. Do you do anything for cardio? Besides skiing?
I'm a Peloton. Skiing. A Peloton guy for sure. Got to keep the lower body strong for the ski.
Yeah, you told me that.
Big Peloton guy. Big Alex Toussaint guy. Yeah. He motivates.
I'm trying to do a better job.
Cody Rigsby gets me going.
I'm trying to do more steps during the day.
Okay. We'll get strap a middle school pedometer on you and we'll see how many steps you can get before the next show.
Okay. I'm going to say, so it'll be almost a week? No, it'll be less than a week. 7,000 steps.
Writing it down.
7. If I will keep track of it. I swear. Cause I know what my life is going to be between now and the next show. If I hit 7,000 steps, I'll be shocked, but are you taking over or under on that?
I'm taking that over on that. You got 2 kids. You're going to be on the move. You're lucky.
They're so fast.
Yeah, exactly.
I gave them my jeans.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Scoop City. Dianna and I are going to continue to go talk about Jaws. You guys go enjoy your weekend of football. Take it easy.
Thanks for watching Scoop City. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. New episodes of Scoop City drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.